the Labour Party is never doing its job when it's in opposition. That's our clause 1. But power must always have a purpose. And I accept that the Labour Party did drift away from its fundamental cause of serving working people. So I want to be clear. Everything I do, all the changes we're making, are in the service of this goal. They are grounded in a new project which understands that the Labour Party can only restore hope in Britain if we once again become the natural home for working people.
Shocking revelation. Starmer shocks the public with his recent speech about the upcoming election. A major political reversal is sending shockwaves through Westminster today. After months of controversy and mounting pressure, Prime Minister Keir Starmer has just made a decision that few saw coming, one that could have huge consequences for millions of pensioners this winter. What changed, and why now? But first, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more. In a move that has sent ripples throughout Westminster and households across the UK, Prime Minister Keir Starmer has performed a major U-turn on one of his government's most controversial early policies, the scrapping of universal winter fuel payments. Millions of pensioners, who faced uncertainty over how they would heat their homes this winter, have just been handed a lifeline in a significant reversal. The Labour government has announced that eligibility for the winter fuel payment will be expanded. Under the new rules, everyone over the state pension age in England and Wales with an income of £35,000 or less will now qualify for the payment. This marks a major shift from the earlier plan that had restricted help only to pensioners on pension credit. This change will bring crucial certainty to millions, offering much-needed support to lower and middle-income retirees ahead of what is expected to be another harsh winter. The Chancellor confirmed that around 9 million pensioners, over 3/4 of the total pensioner population in England and Wales, will now benefit from the revised policy. The support, worth £200 per household and £300 for those aged 80 or over, will be paid automatically later this year. Pensioners will not need to apply, with payments set to arrive just as energy bills begin to spike during the colder months. However, there's a catch. For those pensioners earning above the £35,000 threshold, they will still receive the winter fuel payment initially, but the money will be recovered later via Revenue and Customs, HMRC, through either pay or a self-assessment return. For pensioners who prefer not to receive the money at all and wish to avoid the recovery process, an opt-out option will be made available, with details on how to decline the payment expected to follow shortly. A spokesperson from the Treasury defended the updated policy, stating, "This change gives people certainty and ensures payments can be made in time for this winter. Payments will be better targeted than before, ensuring those on lower and middle incomes get the help they need while making the system fairer and more efficient." To qualify for the winter fuel payment under the new scheme, individuals must have reached the state pension age by the week starting September 15 of this year. Meanwhile, Scotland and Northern Ireland will each receive additional funding, allowing devolved administrations to align with the new threshold and ensure pensioners nationwide aren't left out. It's a big shift, not only reversing Labour's earlier approach but introducing means testing to what was once a universal benefit. The Treasury argues that this will create a fairer system, offering assistance to those who genuinely need it while reducing the strain on public finances. Labour's Chancellor Rachel Reeves defended the decision, saying, "Targeting winter fuel payments was a tough decision but the right decision because of the financial mess we inherited from the previous government. It's also right that we continue to means test this payment so that it's targeted and fair, rather than restoring eligibility to the wealthiest pensioners. But we have now acted to expand eligibility to ensure that no pensioner on a lower income will miss out on the help they need." According to the Treasury, the new £35,000 income threshold sits well above the poverty line and is broadly aligned with average earnings, striking what officials describe as a balance between generosity and fiscal responsibility. The expanded winter fuel payments are projected to cost £1.25 billion in England and Wales alone. However, by means testing the payments, the Treasury expects to claw back approximately £450 million, subject to final figures confirmed by the Office for Budget Responsibility, OBR. Importantly, officials stressed that this move would not lead to permanent additional borrowing. The cost will be accounted for at the next budget and incorporated into the next OBR forecast, with the Chancellor expected to make broader funding decisions to ensure the government's fiscal rules are still met. For context, Labour's original decision to drastically limit the winter fuel payment, one of their first major acts in government, was aimed at closing a £22 billion gap in the public finances, a black hole left by the previous Conservative administration. The initial move slashed the number of pensioners receiving the benefit from 11.4 million down to just 1.5 million, triggering widespread anger and deep political backlash. The outrage culminated in Labour's poor showing at the local elections, prompting Starmer to announce a partial reversal last month. Today's announcement goes even further, with a broader expansion aimed at heading off further political damage and adding to broader support for pensioners. Labour confirmed that over 12 million pensioners across the UK will also benefit from the triple lock, meaning the state pension is set to rise by up to £1,900 during this Parliament, a move the government insists will protect pensioners from rising living costs. Yet critics aren't letting Starmer off the hook easily. Kem Bardino, leader of the opposition, slammed the Prime Minister's handling of the situation, stating, "I repeatedly challenged him to reverse his callous decision to withdraw winter fuel payments, and every time Starmer arrogantly dismissed my criticisms. This humiliating U-turn will come as scant comfort to the pensioners forced to choose between heating and eating last winter. The Prime Minister should now apologise for his terrible judgment." Despite the political noise, the government has moved quickly to reassure pensioners. Officials emphasize that no action will be required to either receive or repay the winter fuel payment, with the entire process being handled automatically through existing HMRC systems. This latest development marks a significant shift in how pensioner benefits are handled in the UK, moving away from universal handouts towards more targeted, means-tested support. However, it also exposes the government to criticism that it misjudged the political and social consequences of its original decision. As winter looms, the stakes could not be higher for Labour and for millions of pensioners who now at least have a little more certainty that they won't be left in the cold. In other news, Nigel Farage has called to reopen the Port Talbot steelworks today in a major campaign pitched to Welsh voters ahead of the 2026 Senate elections. The Reform UK leader, speaking from South Wales, laid out his plans to bring traditional steelmaking back to British shores. Having already put his party's weight behind saving British steel in Scunthorpe earlier this year, Farage again backed domestic industry in a drive to end Labour's 123 years of electoral success in Wales. Before his address, a party source talked up how he will tap into the hearts and minds of a deeply patriotic nation that feels betrayed and forgotten about by Labour. Then, in Port Talbot, Farage laid down the gauntlet to the failing Welsh Labour. "Our aim is very simple, our aim is to win. Our aim is to win a majority, and our aim as a party is to govern in Wales," he said, "and I believe that it is achievable." Farage also predicted that Plaid Cymru would only do well in its heartlands, while the Tories are dying and pretty close to an extinction event. "Labour really are failing in Wales," he added. "I believe we can win, and I believe actually, if we get this right, we will win next May." What are your thoughts on what we discussed in today's video? Let me know down in the comments section below. If you haven't already, make sure you drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel for more British content. Thank you, take care, goodbye. The dramatic reversal on winter fuel payments by the Starmer government underscores the immense political pressure Labour faced following their initial decision. The significant backlash, particularly evident in the local election results, clearly demonstrated that the original policy, aimed at fiscal prudence, had severely misjudged the public mood and the vulnerability of a key demographic. This U-turn, therefore, isn't just a policy adjustment, it's a strategic retreat designed to mitigate further political damage and regain public trust, especially among older voters who felt abandoned by the party they traditionally supported. The government's emphasis on fairness and targeting now serves as a narrative pivot, attempting to frame the expanded eligibility as a more responsible and equitable approach, rather than a concession. However, this shift also highlights the inherent tension within Labour's economic strategy, balancing the need for fiscal responsibility after inheriting a challenging financial landscape with the desire to maintain social welfare provisions and uphold their commitment to vulnerable populations. The decision to claw back payments from higher earners, while ensuring widespread immediate support, introduces a new layer of complexity and potential administrative hurdles for HMRC. While officials stress automation, the perception of a catch for wealthier pensioners could still generate dissatisfaction, albeit on a smaller scale. The long-term success of this revised policy will depend not only on its effective implementation but also on the government's ability to communicate its rationale clearly and convincingly, ensuring that the public understands the nuanced approach to pensioner support. Meanwhile, Nigel Farage's foray into Welsh politics with a focus on reopening Port Talbot steelworks is a potent example of how national political figures are attempting to tap into localised economic anxieties and historical grievances. His strategy of campaigning on industrial revival directly challenges Labour's long-held dominance in traditional working-class areas, particularly in Wales where the party has enjoyed an almost uninterrupted electoral success. Farage's rhetoric, emphasizing patriotism and a sense of betrayal by Labour, is designed to resonate with voters who feel overlooked by mainstream politics. By aligning himself with the plight of industrial communities, he aims to present Reform UK as the true champion of neglected regions and industries, directly undermining Labour's historical base and offering a seemingly simple solution to complex economic challenges. The upcoming 2026 Senate elections in Wales will be a crucial test of whether Farage's populist appeal can translate into tangible electoral gains, and whether his focus on traditional industries can genuinely shift the political landscape in a nation deeply rooted in its industrial heritage. The implementation of means testing for the winter fuel payment, while presented as a move towards fairness and fiscal responsibility, carries significant political risks for Labour. While it addresses the immediate public outcry, it introduces a more complex administrative burden and could lead to resentment among those who, despite being above the £35,000 threshold, still feel the pinch of rising energy costs. The opt-out option, while seemingly a concession, may also inadvertently create a perception of unnecessary bureaucracy for those who prefer not to receive and then repay the benefit. This delicate balancing act between universal support and targeted assistance will be a recurring theme for the government as it navigates the economic landscape inherited from the previous administration, and each such decision will be scrutinised for its impact on different segments of the electorate. The contrasting political strategies employed by Labour and Reform UK are becoming increasingly evident. While Labour attempts to project an image of measured pragmatism, making difficult choices for the greater good, Farage's Reform UK is leveraging public dissatisfaction with established parties by offering simpler, often more radical, solutions. His focus on reindustrialisation in Wales and direct appeals to working-class communities bypasses traditional political discourse, tapping into deep-seated feelings of neglect and economic insecurity. The promise to reopen steelworks, while potentially unrealistic in its full scope, serves as a powerful symbol of a return to a perceived golden age of industrial prosperity, directly contrasting with Labour's more technocratic approach to economic management. This battle for the hearts and minds of disaffected voters, particularly in traditionally Labour-supporting areas, will be a defining feature of the political landscape leading up to the next elections. The broader implications of this policy shift extend beyond immediate financial relief. By moving away from universal benefits towards more means-tested programs, the government is signalling a fundamental reorientation of the welfare state. While such a move can be defended on grounds of efficiency and targeting resources to those most in need, it also risks creating a two-tiered system where some feel more entitled to state support than others. The automatic nature of the payment process this year, managed through HMRC, is intended to reduce bureaucracy and ensure timely support. Pensioners will not have to navigate complex application procedures or risk missing out due to administrative delays. This simplification is likely to be welcomed by many, though the introduction of the opt-out mechanism introduces a new layer of choice that some pensioners may find confusing. Beyond the immediate implications for pensioners, this policy reversal signals a broader shift in the government's approach to social welfare. It reflects an acknowledgement that universal benefits, while costly, carry political and social capital that targeted schemes can struggle to replicate. It also highlights the risks governments face when attempting to implement sweeping reforms without sufficient consultation or consideration of public sentiment. The political fallout from this issue has already been significant, and the stakes are only increasing as winter approaches. Labour must demonstrate that it can manage the economy responsibly while protecting the most vulnerable, a task made all the more difficult by the ongoing cost of living crisis. Meanwhile, in Wales, Nigel Farage's announcement to reopen the Port Talbot steelworks is another bold move in the current political landscape. His call to reinvigorate British steel manufacturing taps into local and national sentiments of economic nationalism and industrial revival. Farage's emphasis on ending Labour's long-standing dominance in Wales reflects a growing challenge to the established political order. His critique of Labour's failures and predictions about Plaid Cymru and the Conservative Party's prospects in the region are designed to rally support for Reform UK ahead of the 2026 Senate elections. By framing his campaign as a fight for the forgotten and betrayed working-class communities, Farage seeks to position himself and his party as the true champions of British industry and patriotism. His strategy underscores the shifting dynamics of British politics, where regional issues and economic identity play increasingly pivotal roles. The coming months will be critical for all political actors. For Prime Minister Starmer, the winter fuel payment U-turn offers an opportunity to regain lost ground and demonstrate responsiveness to public concerns. However, the decision also opens the door to continued scrutiny over the government's overall approach to social welfare and fiscal management. For opposition parties, the issue remains a potent weapon to challenge Labour's competence and compassion. Pensioners, meanwhile, await the promised payments with cautious optimism, hoping that the government's new approach will provide genuine relief during what promises to be a difficult winter. As the UK navigates these complex political and economic waters, the interplay between policy decisions, public opinion, and party politics will shape the country's direction. The winter fuel payment U-turn is emblematic of the challenges ahead, a reminder that governance is a delicate balancing act where every choice carries profound consequences for millions. What are your thoughts on this major U-turn by Prime Minister Keir Starmer? Do you believe this revised policy will offer the support pensioners need this winter? How do you view the political implications for Labour and the opposition? Let me know your opinions in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more updates on British politics and current affairs. Thank you for watching, and take care. The expanded winter fuel payment marks a critical intervention amidst a backdrop of rising economic uncertainty. The UK economy, grappling with inflation rates hovering around the highest levels seen in decades, is experiencing a sustained squeeze on household budgets. For pensioners, many of whom rely on fixed incomes and limited savings, the prospect of escalating energy bills in the upcoming winter months has been a source of anxiety. Recent data from the Office for National Statistics (ONS) highlights that energy prices have surged by more than 50% over the past year, a trend driven by global supply chain disruptions, geopolitical instability, and volatility in the wholesale gas market. This volatility has made it increasingly difficult for households to predict and manage their monthly expenditures, exacerbating financial stress. The winter fuel payment, while modest relative to total energy costs, plays an important psychological and practical role. It signals government recognition of the unique vulnerabilities faced by the elderly during the colder months. In addition, the automatic payment mechanism is designed to ensure rapid delivery of support, minimizing bureaucratic hurdles that often delay assistance in critical times. Despite the positive reception of the U-turn by many pensioner groups, there remains a significant cohort that continues to feel left behind. Pensioners who fall just above the £35,000 income threshold will initially receive the payment but face a recovery process through HM Revenue and Customs, HMRC. This recovery process, which requires careful tax filing and documentation, may pose challenges, particularly for elderly individuals with limited access to digital services or those unfamiliar with complex tax procedures. To address these concerns, government officials have promised comprehensive guidance and support to pensioners navigating the opt-out or recovery procedures. The effectiveness of this support will be closely monitored, as any failure could result in confusion or inadvertent financial penalties for vulnerable individuals. Beyond immediate economic concerns, the policy reversal has reignited debate around the principles of universal versus means-tested benefits. Universal benefits, such as the original winter fuel payment scheme, offer simplicity, inclusivity, and broad social solidarity. They reduce stigma and administrative complexity but come at a high fiscal cost. Means testing, on the other hand, aims to target resources more efficiently by directing support to those who need it most. However, it often introduces complexity, administrative burdens, and the risk of excluding eligible recipients due to technicalities or lack of awareness. In the case of winter fuel payments, the introduction of the £35,000 income cap represents a hybrid approach, maintaining broad eligibility but allowing for clawbacks from higher earners. Economists and social policy experts have weighed in on the trade-offs inherent in this approach. Dr. Fiona Mackenzie, a senior fellow at the Institute for Fiscal Studies, noted, "The government's decision reflects a pragmatic balancing act. They have attempted to preserve the universality of the scheme while addressing fiscal sustainability. However, means testing inevitably introduces complexity and potential gaps in coverage, especially for borderline cases." The political reverberations will continue to unfold, shaping the narrative of Labour's tenure. As always, your thoughts and opinions matter. How do you feel about the government's latest move on winter fuel payments? Will this reversal restore confidence, or is it too little, too late?